Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good day. I'm Mike Good of Togetherness, and I'll be your host today. Welcome to this Togetherness Empowerment class, where I provide training to empower you to fight back against dementia. This is the first class of 2017, and I'm excited to be kicking it off. We had over 20 empowerment classes in 2016, so it'll be interesting if we can keep the same pace. Now, these classes are interactive, so let's get things started by having you type into the chat on the right-hand side of the screen. Let us know where you're from or what your role is with dementia, family, friend, or caregiver, professional. Now, don't be shy and know that your interaction helps reduce my stress because I know everything's working then. Now, today, Susan Macaulay returns to teach us about the topic. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
A little forgetful tonight.
Well, it's so funny. I always, I have the script over here and I'm supposed to read it, and then I start ad-libbing and then I just lose track. So.
Yeah. And then everything goes pear-shaped. But I see we're already getting lots of people saying hi in the chat, and I'm wondering if Liz was when Liz. There's a Liz from Fallbrook, Canada, and
California,
I was wondering if the Liz was the Liz from the UK, but maybe not.
We have a Fallbrook, California, right up the street
is it
from
California?
me too.
Oh,
so it might be California, because I've started reaching out more in the San Diego area lately. So that's good. I always keep it coming in. Yeah. Hi, Liz, Maureen, Linda, Ann, Barbara, Ellie, Craig, Vanessa. Wow, I'm going to miss people. Sharon, I appreciate everybody being here. Being the care partner for someone with Alzheimer's or another type of dementia is possibly the most challenging situation a person can face. And you probably know that if you're here. And at some point, you've probably felt like you're drowning. And if you haven't yet, you will one day. There are ways, however, to reduce or even prevent situations in which you thought you were going to go under those waves and might never come up again. I borrowed that from Susan. Thank you, Susan. Today, Susan will be sharing some tips she's learned as a care partner to help you stay afloat in rough dementia care seas. Now, before I introduce Susan, let me quickly cover some administrative information about the event. As I mentioned, on the right-hand side of the screen is where you can chat and ask questions. And again, this is meant to be an interactive class, so please feel free to do that. We are broadcasting in high definition to your home or office, wherever you're at, around the world, and that takes a lot of resources. So if you're having problems with it, try closing down other applications or other browser windows. And if you have any audio or video issues, just hit refresh, and usually that helps resolve it. Worst case, close your browser and re-enter, and that almost always fixes any issues. Now, if we lose you, because Susan is having an ice storm, just hang tight and we'll re-enter as soon as possible. So Susan, how's that ice storm going? Sorry, I had to segue.
It seems to be okay at the moment. But if you lose me, you'll know why.
All righty, I'm going off script. So, all right, now on to the introduction. So Susan is a dementia care coach and trainer, advocate, activist, author, and blogger. She was the primary care partner to her late mother, who lived with dementia of the Alzheimer's type. Susan embraces the techniques of dementia care pioneers such as Teepa Snow, Dr. Alan Power, and DAI founder Kate Swaffer. She shares tips and advocates for better dementia care on her website, myalzheimerstory.com. I'm also very excited to share that her work is being published in the Journal of American Medical Directors Association. Susan, that's awesome. I'd love to welcome you to the show.
Hi, Mike, again, and hi to everyone who's writing their name in the chat. It's really great to see old friends and new friends as well that are joining us for the first time. So it's wonderful to have such a good turnout tonight. So thanks very much for being here. To start with, as everyone's warmed up in the chat box, I'd like to ask you to, if you'd like to share some perhaps situation in which you found yourself to be overwhelmed or felt like you were drowning, losing the plot, really feeling rather desperate. If you'd like to share any situations such as that in the chat, maybe we can address them as we go along. What I'd like to do tonight is to share some personal stories and examples that get you thinking and help you to develop solutions for times when you do feel that you're not, your care partnering role is perhaps getting the best of you. And the theme is around life-saving and drowning and water. So I want to start with a story that may not seem to be connected to dementia care at first, but I think you'll see how it does as the evening goes on. And the story is, I call it The King and I. And it's a true story about a couple of experiences I had in Dubai when I lived there, about 15 years ago. And what happened was, I was training for triathlon. I was in my late 40s and I'd just taken up the sport. And I was doing a lot of running and cycling and swimming. And one morning, very early in the morning, around 5:30, I was down at the beach, and it was too rough. It was very wavy, too rough for swimming. But I wanted to go out anyway. So I decided I'd do a little bit of body surfing, and there were no lifeguards at the beach at the time. And I went out into the surf. There were a couple of other people out playing in the waves, and I caught a wave and didn't quite catch it in the way I needed to. And instead of going along with the wave, I was driven down into the sand head first, and my neck popped back. I got a shooting pain in my spine, and I thought, this is it. I've had it. I'm going to drown. Well, to make a long story short, I came up and my face was all bloodied, and somebody dragged me into the beach. I see somebody saying they don't have the broadcast mic. I see somebody in the chat saying they see the sit tight screen.
Yeah, it's begun. Other people are interacting. If it's saying sit tight,
maybe they need to refresh.
Try refreshing your browser or closing your browser and re-entering. That generally helps or resolves it.
Okay.
I had it on my secondary screen, and then I accidentally closed it, and now I'm trying to get back in, but it's not working.
Okay.
So if you're in the chat and you can just let us know if everything looks okay, we'll keep going. Thank you.
That was Jen, yeah. Okay, so anyway, I went to the hospital. They stitched up my lip, and the long and the short of it is that I became very frightened of going out in the sea, understandably, because of this experience. So couple of maybe 3, 4, or 5 weeks later, I met a fellow at a hotel in the bar, and we got to chatting, and he was from South Africa, very athletic guy. Said he played volleyball for their national team at one point in South Africa, and he also did triathlon. And I told him this story about having been to the sea and had this accident, and I wanted to continue my training, but I wasn't able to because I couldn't, didn't want to go out alone into the sea again because of what had happened. So he said, well, I've done triathlon before, and I do a lot of swimming, so why don't we do a little bit of training together? So I said, great. So the next week we met at the beach, and we sat on the edge of the shoreline and figured out how far we were going to go. There were a couple of buoys out, maybe about 150 feet, and there was perhaps 500 meters maybe between the two buoys. So we decided to swim out to the buoy, swim down, and then swim back. And, you know, he was a big strapping guy. Like I said, he was 6'3", and there wasn't an ounce of fat on him. He was just pure muscle. So I thought, I'm going to be safe. This guy, if something happens to me, he's going to be able to tow me to Timbuktu and back, no problem. Well, we swam out about 15 feet from where it was over our head, where it was over my head, and we kept on swimming, and he was by my side, and then I kept swimming along, and then all of a sudden, I kind of looked to my side. I was swimming freestyle, and I looked to my side, and he wasn't there anymore. And I thought, oh, that's a bit strange. So I stopped swimming, and I turned around, and there was this guy kind of flailing around in the sea and saying, you know, oh my God, help me, help me. And I was just so surprised by what was happening that I kind of froze for a minute or two. So what I'd like to ask you is, in that kind of situation, what do you think the guy, we'll call him King, what do you think King might have been feeling as he's out in the sea, swimming around but losing it, and, you know, being on the point of drowning? What kinds of what do you think might be going through his head as he's in that situation? And if you'd like to put that in in the chat box, yeah, that's right. Helpless. Panic, helpless, anxious, yeah, sheer panic, yes. And what do you think I, Susan, in the situation would be reacting? And what do you think I should do or not do in the situation?
You know, that's tough. I just have to share that when I was on my honeymoon, my wife and I both got caught up in some waves and felt that had that feeling. And I'm trying to remember back, and all I can do is all I can think of, God, I'm happy I've never felt that again. That whole helplessness and panic, and am I going to be able to help her? Is she going to be able to help me? How are we going to get through this? Is really this the quickest honeymoon ever? I mean, oh my, it was pretty scary. We're both good swimmers.
Yeah. Well, as it turns out, I was a lifeguard. Yeah, Peggy's saying keep calm and reassure him. And, you know, as a lifeguard, I had been taught that not to, you know, reach out, not to try to save the person myself, but to guide and reassure and calm, as Peggy has said. But it's very difficult. What I was feeling, I thought, oh, I brought this guy down here to the beach. And now he's going to drown right before my very eyes, and there's nothing I can do, because I knew that if I got close enough to him and he grabbed me, that there wasn't a hope in hell of me being able to break his grip, because he was so big and so strong. Yeah.
Even when a person's not big and strong, that fear is going to give them some power to pull you down. I remember my wife having that power.
Yeah. So what I did was, as people are suggesting, stayed back from the situation so that I could preserve my own self. There was no use both of us going down. And I asked him to float instead of flailing around, which he wasn't able to do. He was too panicked. So he kept going down. He kept going down. I encouraged him to swim towards the shore, which he did. He was able to make some progress. And eventually he got to a point, because he was so tall and he was kind of bobbing up and down, that he was able to touch the ground and pop back up again.
Hmm.
So, but the important thing was, and as people have also pointed out in the chat, that emotions are very high, and it's really difficult to stay back and not jump into the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to do now is to share I've got a couple of clips that are very personal clips that I want to share with you about interchanges with myself and my mom, and how I got it wrong, what I did wrong, and what we could as a group learn from that. So the first clip is on a summer's day. Mom and I were sitting out on the deck, and she had some wet dish towels, and she asked me about drawing the dish towels, and I suggested that we hang them on the back of the chairs. This started a discussion and an argument that very quickly got extremely emotional. So what I've done is I've divided the clip, which the conversation went on for about a good hour anyhow. But I've taken 5 short segments and put them in this one clip that's about 2 minutes long. And what I'd like to do is to play the clip and for you to listen and see if you can identify what I did right, if anything, and what I did wrong, if anything. So Mike, can we play the clip?
Yeah, just to make sure this is the getting it wrong clip.
Getting it wrong, getting it all wrong.
And so just so our audience knows, I'm going to be playing a video, but it's only going to have audio. Here we go.
You asked me, should we dry the things? And I said, what do you think, how we should dry them? And I said, I think you should leave them out here. And then you said, no.
You can't put them out here if they're wet.
So then why did you ask me, Mum?
Anyway, never mind. I'll do it myself.
Okay.
The way I've always done it.
Okay, good. Good. I'm sure the way that you do it is going to be great, Mum. What gives you the idea that I don't care for you, Mum?
Well, I can tell.
How can you tell?
You could phone me once in a while. You could call me up and you say, Mom, how are you? And how are you feeling? And how, I did that with my mother when I was a child.
Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss as to what more I could do.
Well, Sue, there's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of things you can be affable with me. You can be a little more helpful with me. You can say, Mom, I love you and I love you. And we can be two people that...
I said I loved you many times, Mom. You never told me.
Well, I did.
No, you haven't.
Well, I certainly did, and I told you the other day.
The other day?
3 days ago.
3 days ago you told me.
You never phone me. I never hear from you. You could be...
Well, Mom, I'm here right now.
Well, yeah, but that's only today.
Well, what about yesterday?
Well, you haven't been here you could have come about 3 weeks ago and come over to see me, or you could come anytime. I'm always available. I call you more than you call me, so you know that.
Well, no, Mom. That's absolutely not the case.
Well, it is. I don't hear from you too often at all.
Okay, Mom.
And I think it would be nice if you did call me periodically.
Okay. So what else do you want me to do besides call you, once a day?
Looks like our audience was able to hear it too. So we're always kind of crossing our fingers of how the technology is going to work. So, and it's never like it worked last time. But anyway, I'll give it over to you, Susan.
Yeah, well, people are already writing in the chat, which is what I would have wanted. Yeah, don't argue. Exactly. Enter her world. Exactly. Say you're sorry. Yes. And Jen is saying, wow, this hits home. My husband critiques me and tells me how I screwed up.
Mm.
I hear you not accepting that your mom had her own reality of the situation. Yeah, I would have been helpful to stay in your mom's reality. Yeah, arguing a point. Yes, yes, yeah. So now I need to tell you also, which I forgot to tell you before the clip played, was that I'd been living with her and taking care of her or caring with her for 8 months already. And although I knew intellectually by this point, I had learned on my own all of the things that people are putting in the chat, I was unable to implement those things in the moment. So I tried to use logic with her, and there's absolutely no point in trying to use logic. I remained, as people have rightly pointed out, in my own reality instead of stepping into her reality and agreeing with her. I argued with her. I interrupted her. I challenged her. I laughed. Now, I laughed. I wasn't laughing at her. I was laughing at the situation of, it was a bit of a stretch. She's saying, well, I told you I loved you 3 days ago, and I didn't ask you to leave the house. So, because you didn't ask me to leave the house, that means I'm supposed to interpret that as I love you. That's a bit of a stretch. So I was, the emotions are running very high. Now, what do you think is happening with me? Why did I do all of those things that I shouldn't have done? Why did I lack empathy? Why did I ask her questions she couldn't answer? Why did I listen to her words but not her emotions? What do you think was happening with me that caused me not to be able to do the kinds of things I should have done? Craig, yeah, because I'm human. Yeah, Susan, in the moment you were trying to receive some kind of validation from your mom. Yes, exactly. It's always difficult to remember your mom is coming from a different reality. Yes, drained. It's a personal attack because you're human. Yes, and this is my mom. All of those are good reasons. So in actual fact, yeah, stress and burnout. So what's happening from my side is that there's really 5 major things at play. So the first one is ego. And this has to do with what Cheryl is saying. It's important for us to be validated. And I'd already spent all of this time with her, and she was completely invalidating all of that work that I put in from my emotional brain's point of view. I wasn't able to let go of my ego. All kinds of emotional triggers were there. The relationship with my mother from quite a while back it was good, it was strong, but like most mother-daughter relationships or parent-child relationships, it wasn't always smooth. And I had felt like I had not been seen by her for a lot of my life. And so that's what I was feeling that she was telling me. I was exhausted and I was frustrated. So, and about, I'd say couple of weeks before this conversation happened, I'd actually conveyed my frustration, talked about my frustration and my exhaustion to my therapist, who I'd called upon about, 6 to 8 weeks earlier, because I had begun to feel like I was drowning. So Mike, I just want to play that clip. So for those who, maybe feel like they might be alone in a drowning situation, that you know that you're not. We've all been there. Can you play the clip, Mike?
Now I'm talking right into the mic.
Okay, that's good.
Are we good? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay. All right.
I'm very distressed.
What's going on?
Well, everything seems to go wrong all the time. I just feel like I'm always having these barriers. Like as an example, you know, I have to drive to a place to get, everything is hard. I can't be in one place. I have to be everywhere all the time. And
Yeah. You mean like in order to kind of do your work and look after your mom and keep the house going and all the pieces?
yeah, and well, just for example, to talk to you,
Yeah.
I can't talk in the house because I have no space that is my space.
Yeah.
I can't be there because I'll get interrupted. So that means in order to do anything, to talk to you, to work, to get anything of my own stuff done,
Yeah.
I have to pack a pack sack, put all my stuff in it, go somewhere else. I don't know where I'm going sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't have a place I can go that's for me. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I forget the fucking phone. And you know, I didn't have to forget the phone.
Yeah.
So all these little things, it's tiring, wearing me out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to thank you, Susan, for being so willing to share that interpersonal experience with our audience, so that we can just help everyone understand that what they're going through. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think lots of caregivers out there go through exactly what I went through, and they just think that they're on their own, and they're not. You know, where everybody's been in that place, because it's just really hard. It's really hard. And you know, people are afraid also of reaching out. I think they're afraid of reaching out for help sometimes because of the stigma. Yeah, Elle saying, you mentioned about space. We don't have a personal space where you feel like your whole world is kind of crushing in on you. And I think that thanks, Sharon. I do this, I share this so that other people can be more open, and we can all do a better job at this, or for ourselves and for our care partners as well. Because what I realized, and as time went on, I grew to appreciate more and more, is that the cycle of not doing all the things that I should have done led to me being more stressed than I needed to be, and being more stressed than I needed to be caused me to do the things, you know, or to not be as empathetic, as understanding, and as easy as I could have been with my mom. So it's like a vicious circle. you get into this spiral, and down you go. Now, I was reading a blog I mentioned to you, Mike, this afternoon. My friend Laurie Beauchamp, who's just started a new blog called Unforgettable, and she talked about this topic today in a different way. We'll give people the link afterwards, or in the follow-up email. But what I think is difficult is that the more stressed you get, the more, because the people who are living with dementia become more sensitive and in tune with feelings, and that is true the more the disease progresses, the more they seem to get in tune, is that your stress, when you're stressed and anxious, it's picked up, and it causes them to be more stressed and anxious. I just want to take a look here at what Jan is saying. Part of what blocks me from sharing with others and thus inviting others in is that I don't feel like it's my story to tell, it's his. Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's both. But and it's not necessary to tell your story. I'm not suggesting that other people should do what I do, but I do feel like we can gain by being connected, and just hearing the experiences of others is helpful. So what could I have done differently to not find myself in that kind of drowning situation, and what can others do differently to not find themselves in that situation as frequently as we might otherwise? So I've got a few tips to share with you. And the first one is, this is fairly obvious, is to not swim alone, like I did the first time when I went out in the waves and ended up being injured and almost drowning. The second thing is to swim with a buddy. So if you're not alone, you should have a buddy with you, but don't do what I did. Pick the right buddy. Pick the right buddy. So pick somebody who's going to support you, rather than somebody who's going to tell you what to do. What you need is people who are empathetic around you. And Craig has suggested that, yeah, the support groups help a lot. Virtual groups mostly, online, or even groups in person, or find a coach, somebody that can hold your hand. Somebody who's been through it already is really helpful. And as Elle says, yeah, everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's insecure. The people who live with dementia are too. In that example from my mom, she just wanted to be loved. She was feeling unloved. And all I really needed to do was to love her and tell her, instead of getting into this argument. So, okay, so don't swim alone. Choose the right buddies. Leave the cement blocks behind. It's hard to swim when you're attached to, when you've got weights, when you've got a weight belt on, and all of the emotional baggage that we have around the way that people used to be and wanting them to be the way that they were is that I didn't have that, but I know a lot of people do. My baggage, my cement block, my weight belt was this need to be, as Cheryl had pointed out, validated. And once I was able to let go of that, things became a whole heck of a lot easier. The other thing is that it's sometimes hard to know when you're drowning. It's really obvious if you're in the water and you take a mouthful, if you're in the sea and you take a mouthful of water and you choke, then, it's pretty obvious that something's not going right. But I think what happens when we're in a caregiving role, or what can often happen, is that we don't recognize that we're drowning until it's too late. So yes, as Anna's saying, get help earlier, join a group, ask for someone to share some of the tasks that you need to do, whatever those mundane kinds of things are that can be done by someone else, that frees you to have some space for yourself. Carry a lifesaver. Yes, Craig, exactly. Craig saying, like the frog, we've used that example before, Mike. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
The frog in the boiling water?
That poor frog. Yeah, I don't remember which episode it was from, but I do remember it coming up. So it must be must hit home well with people, unfortunately. But yes.
Yeah, so for those who don't know that story, the frog in the boiling water is if you took a frog and you put it in a pot of cold water and you put the water on the stove and you turn the stove on, then as the water heats up, the frog gets used to the warm water, and it would boil in there like a lobster before it would try to leap out. But if you took a frog and you tried to put it, it would not jump into a bowl of boiling water. It would know better than to do that. It would immediately try and jump out. But because it got used to the situation, then it becomes more difficult. Nancy's asking, what if a caregiver doesn't want to join us because she's too burned out? Yes, she feels that she must be there with her loved one all the time. Well, yeah, the problem is that if you, for the same reason that I ended up in that crying, that desperation, was because I hadn't taken enough time for myself. And so if the care partner, the one who does not have dementia, doesn't take care of his or herself, they're going to end up in worse shape than the person that they're trying to take care of. So if it can be positioned, if Nancy, if you're asking this about somebody that then if you help them to understand that it's actually better for them to put the oxygen on themselves first and then care for their loved one, just like you would on a, they tell you on a plane, when the oxygen mask falls down, put it on your face and make sure that you're okay before you try and help someone else. Because eventually you're not going to be able to do it. Eventually you're going to break. It's absolutely inevitable. So you want to carry a lifesaver with you, whatever that lifesaver is. Laura's asking about a virtual group. Mike, we can give some links on the
Yeah, absolutely,
to some of the Facebook groups.
Yeah, I have a resource page that would be very helpful to help answer that. There's several organizations and Facebook groups and all that we can point you to, and we'll do that. So on the replay, when we provide the replay page, there'll be anything Susan mentions, any links or anything that'll be included on there. So just make sure you look for that email within 48 hours of this live broadcast, and that's where you'll find them.
Okay, so in anticipation of the possibility that you might one day drown, you should have a lifesaver with you, whatever that lifesaver means to might mean to you. So when I'm swimming now, I take one of these. It's a life buoy, and it has a long string on it, a long string and a loop. This is what the lifeguards use, that goes around my body, and I tow this when I swim, so that I always feel secure knowing that I'm going to be safe. So because I have a flotation device with me in the lake, I know I'm going to be fine. So in the same way, we have to try, as care partners, we have to find some kind of flotation device, some kind of lifesaver to carry with us. There's already been a bunch of suggestions in the in the chat, which is great. Memory People, all of those good Facebook groups are wonderful. Jen's put a link in there, and maybe it's having a phone number in your pocket. Maybe it's having somebody's, a support line phone number on your cell phone. Maybe it's having somebody a family member that you can call, or a friend that you can call. And I can tell you that in the support groups, you'll find people who will surround you and help to keep you afloat. Carry your life. It could even be something as simple as having lifesavers in your pocket that you can use as a reminder of, the workshop of this workshop, that you're not alone.
Oh, I love that. It's like the gong that goes off to remind you to get in the moment and to ground yourself again. So if you walk around the lifesavers in your pocket, you can remember what Susan's telling you about being your own lifesaver. I like that, Susan. That's pretty clever. Maybe we can provide those to the audience next time.
Well, you know what I thought also? I wish that I'd thought of this in the early days with Mum, because Mum loves candy. She absolutely adored hard candy. And so a good trick would have been to say to her, when we got into those kinds of difficult situations, to reach in my pocket and say, I feel a bit like I'm drowning. I'd like to have a lifesaver. How about you? And I know that would have worked.
Yeah, you gotta keep trying and find what works for you, right, Susan?
That's right. You've got to
be
keep
different.
That's right.
There's not a perfect Facebook group for everybody. There's not a perfect support group for everybody. You've got to find the one that makes you feel comfortable, makes you feel better. And we've got a lot of great suggestions there. So just do want to mention that we are on the 15-minute mark, Susan. That's all.
Okay. I don't have too much more to say. So don't swim alone. Choose the right buddy, and we've got lots and lots of suggestions for buddies. We could even create a blog post out of that, Mike, and 10 places that you can go. Leave the cement blocks or the weight belt behind. Lose the baggage, in other words. Focus on empathizing with the other person. Carry a lifesaver, whatever the lifesaver means, for you, some kind of technique that's going to help you to feel calm. Maybe it's a phone app, who knows? Maybe it's deep breathing, as we talked about in bangs. The other thing is to avoid rough seas. When you see that somebody is already agitated, don't let yourself, become agitated because they're agitated, and let it build in the same way. So don't jump into rough seas. But on the other hand, when everything is calm, everybody knows that with dementia, things go like a roller coaster. So that you need to also be prepared. If you're in a calm sea and everything's going fine, remember that it could change in an instant, and can change back in an instant. I think that what happens is, a lot of times, just like I got caught up in this conversation for an hour, that if we stop, it also will stop. Everything will pass. And the great thing about dementia is that once it's over, it's not remembered, except for the emotional part. The emotional part sticks. So if we can satisfy those emotional needs, then we're going to have a much smoother ride of it. Know when you're drowning. I already mentioned that. And float. Don't flail. When I was in the sea with this guy, 6'3", he's waving his arms all over the place, and I'm saying to him, to float. He knew how to float, but because he was so panicked, he couldn't stop flailing. So I know, again, from my personal experience, that if I can stand back, or if I could when I was with Mom, stand back and be aware of what's happening in the moment, be aware that I'm beginning to drown in the situation, and to float, just float with the anxiety, float with the anger, float with whatever it is, rather than flailing, then I've got a much better chance of not drowning. Yeah, Craig's saying, I've noticed that if I can change my attitude to positive, she's forgotten that I blew it. Yes. What somebody's talking about taking a shower, you have to be okay with this. Someone had asked that before, I think, Mike, about taking a shower. I don't see it in the chat. Sorry, I'm interrupting here.
No, it gives you. Yeah, I think it started off with sometimes you don't even have time to take a shower and do your basic hygiene.
Oh, yeah.
and find someone to help go to lunch, let you go to lunch, and or just take a shower.
Yes.
Let alone a spa bath or something.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and that's a sign of drowning. So in the same way, because I had a care partner who came in and 5 days a week for so many hours, and I used to say to her, I haven't had a shower. I've been wearing the same clothes for 4 days. And that was a signal to myself that I was beginning to drown. When I said that, I knew I was starting to drown and I had to do something. Nancy says, do you think a gratitude journal is helpful? Yes. Yes, I do. And I kept one for a long time. And also focusing on the things that are positive, the things that are treasures. And we're to end this session. Actually, we're at about 10 minutes. Maybe I'll just go through these couple of things, and then we can play that clip to end on a positive note, to focus on the good things. So yes, Nancy, absolutely, gratitude journal is a fabulous idea. So before I get to the last clip, empathize and validate, don't engage. So rather than arguing with somebody, simply say, I know you're looking very angry. I can hear you're angry, and I would be angry too in your position. And best ever is to say you're sorry. The more times you say you're sorry, the better, regardless of whether you're culpable or not.
If I remember right, that's sorry is the S in bangs, right?
Yeah, sorry is the S in bangs.
Just for those of you that don't know, bangs was a class that Susan shared or taught about probably almost a year and a half ago now, and I think it's going on to 14,000 YouTube views. So we'll definitely put that on the resource page, and it's definitely one that people find a lot of use from. So
Linda's asking, how do you get yourself not to feel guilty for taking time to take care of yourself? Well, the answer to that is easy, because if you don't take time, you're going to end up, your person that you're caring for is going to be worse off. That's right. Vanessa has the right answer. You're not good to your loved one unless you do take time to look after yourself. That's exactly right. So you've got to take time. Practice in the kiddie pool. So don't jump in and start to do all kinds of things in the deep end. Try slowly using these techniques in a very slow and measured way before you really, employing them when things are blowing up. When things are blowing up, you're probably best to walk away. Another technique that I found really helpful is to listen to, if you possibly can, record yourself in an interchange with your partner, particularly ones that don't go well. So if it's not going well, take out your cell phone and record the conversation, and then listen to it when you're in a calm state, and pick out the things, just as we've done with my conversation, because it's much easier to hear, and you can hear your tone of voice. You can hear what's being said when you're outside of the situation. You can learn from yourself, and then you can implement changes the next time, so that you don't keep repeating the same patterns or the same things that don't work.
Yeah, and when you do that, make sure you're easy on yourself, right? Because you're gonna hear things that you're gonna feel like you really screwed up, but you got to remind yourself that you're listening to it to better yourself, and that you're doing the best you can. And
Exactly.
I know Susan used that a lot, and that's how she was able to not drown.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Maybe he swallowed a lot of water.
Yeah.
That horrible feeling, but you're still here.
So I want to end with because the clip I have is about 2 minutes. It's a much more positive conversation, and it's one in which, because I go with the flow, Mom had started talking to me at the dinner table. This is a conversation we had at dinner, and she started in a very angry way about a conversation that she'd had on the phone, which, you know, she never had, talking to a group which she didn't know who they were, and but she was really irate. And because I listened, because I agreed with her, because I went with the flow, we were able to have a really enjoyable and funny conversation. I was laughing, she was laughing, and it really, the whole tone changed. So I wanted to end on a positive note with this conversation before we do the housekeeping at the end. Yes, it'll be recorded.
Yes, these are, Craig. Yes, these are recorded, and we have a library of almost 20 something classes now, I think. So that link will be on the replay page as well, and it'll live on YouTube forever, hopefully. So with that, I'll go play the video. Enjoying a conversation. Go ahead, Susan.
Nancy's asking about suggestions to connect with people in the later stages. Maybe we could do that in the next webinar. That's a long.
Okay.
That'll be a long answer.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to hit play because we are down to 5 minutes. So.
Okay.
So what are you involved in at the moment?
I'm not, I stayed out of it.
Good idea.
I figured, what's the use of me getting involved in it?
Yeah.
I can see that it's going nowhere, so what's the use of getting involved? It doesn't make sense.
I agree. Totally.
I mean, it's, you know, I don't want to be involved in all the things they're thinking of doing if they're not going to be able to do anything. I mean, there's other people doing that, doing nothing. So why can't I do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point.
I might
Good point.
Very good point. You know, if nobody's doing nothing, doesn't mean to say that I need to jump in and do nothing, do something. I might as well do nothing too, because they're not doing anything. Crazy people.
That's very good wisdom, Mom.
It is good wisdom. God, if they get their act together and
Bloody hell.
you know, it's crazy. And then you can't even get the stuff from them that they are doing. Maybe you might be able to help them make it better, but they do nothing. And then it ends up nobody's doing anything anyway. Imagine having a group that's doing nothing. I've never worked for somebody that's done nothing. Doesn't exist in my books.
No, because you always like to do something, Mum.
Yeah, I do, even though maybe it's not what it suits them, or they're not happy about it, or
That's
whatever.
right.
None of them seem to know what they're doing. That's what I think is funny about the whole thing. They're not doing anything. Isn't it stupid? You know? The trouble is you get to a point where you start to get stupid yourself.
Exactly. You start to get stupid
Well, you
yourself.
start to say, well, everybody else will say they're doing nothing, and they don't want to do anything. I mean, does it make sense?
No.
No, it doesn't. What's the use of dealing with people like that?
That just cracks me up, Mike.
That was good. That was good. We got even had a snort in there. I like that's a lot better. Better. Yeah, that was nice conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's so interesting what she's saying, because she's saying, and it really it applies.
Yep.
Like, do something when the time is right to do something. Don't do anything when everything's going okay. And some people don't do anything at all, which can be frustrating once you want to do something. Anyway.
All righty. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Susan, you got any final thoughts you want to share with the audience before I?
Yeah, laugh. Laughter
Yeah.
can really help too. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go. You.
We'll have some tips and links that you'll send along with or they'll be on the replay page or whatever. And of course, I invite everybody to visit myalzheimersstory.com as well.
Absolutely. I was going to say thank you. Very great audience today. A lot of interaction. I really appreciate that. And when I attended support group, just as a friend, I was not a care partner. At first, I was wondering why people were laughing so much and all, and I realized just how important it was to them to have a joker in the room, have somebody to lighten the mood, because laughter is so important. And so thank you, Susan, for the very insightful conversation. I think it's another great hit for us. I appreciate that. And we're going to continue to have these conversations to empower people who are fighting back against dementia. And in a couple of weeks, Susan and I will be doing a 30-minute follow-up conversation related to the same topic. It'll be at a different time. It's usually 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. That way we can try to hit more audience and people. And again, thank you to the audience. And I really appreciate all the nice comments in the chat there. That always makes us feel a lot better about what we're doing and also. And then if you haven't and you want to, please go ahead and click the link that I popped up on your sidebar so you can get on the email list so you don't miss any future empowerment classes or conversations. And then keep your eyes open. And again, within 48 hours, you'll be getting the email with the recording and all the links we talked about. So, and don't forget to visit myalzheimersstory.com and togetherinthis.com, where we're going to provide you with more information. And if ever you can't find what you're looking for, contact us. Use our contact forms that we're there to help you. So, all righty. So goodbye, everybody, and have an empowered day.
Bye,
Susan.
Mike. Bye, everybody. Bye, Mike.